of requests to unmask the identities of Americans whose conversations were captured by the Federal Foreign Intelligence reporting. Get this, exceeding 260 requests just in the election year of 2016 alone. Sources are now telling Fox News that Samantha Power also, quote, even sought information in the days leading up to President Trump's inauguration. According to this report, the sheer volume of unmasking requests from the former UN ambassador is unprecedented. Now, sadly, with Samantha Power making these requests nearly every single working day in 2016, we must ask the question, was she weaponizing the tools of intelligence and using the intel community to spy on an opposition party during the 2016 presidential election? And that's not the only shocking report we have tonight. Just this week, we did learn that Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort, he was wiretapped by federal investigators through a secret FISA court order before and after the 2016 presidential election, including, get this, possible communications with the president were picked up. Now, earlier this week, the Wall Street Journal, they published an article. It was entitled, "Did Obama Know About Comey's Surveillance?" Now, the piece openly speculates that high-ranking officials inside the Obama White House and President Obama himself may have been briefed on the Pfizer surveillance. Now, unbelievably, in March of this year, former Obama Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, he said there was no Pfizer warrant. You may remember this.
For the part of the national security apparatus that I oversaw as DNI, there was no such wiretap activity mounted against the president-elect at the time, or as a candidate, or against his campaign.
There is no FISA court order?
Not to my knowledge.
Of anything at Trump Tower?
No.
Hang on. Didn't this guy, wasn't he once suspected of lying to Congress? Also remember this, Paul Manafort was wiretapped at Trump Tower, according to these reports. But guess what? Clapper is now singing a very different tune, admitting that communications from Trump himself, all right, then a candidate, and then, of course, the president-elect, may have been captured by this surveillance. Watch what he said last night.
Is it possible the president was picked up in a conversation with Paul Manafort?
It's certainly conceivable, yeah.
Now, we'll have more on this later tonight. Jay Sekulow and Cheryl Atkinson, remember, she was spied on also. But first, here, the American people have been lied to. You've been lied to repeatedly, and nobody on the left, no one in the mainstream media seems to care. Now, let's talk about the Russia collusion investigation for a minute. Now, it's become very evident that Mueller and his team are hell-bent, in my opinion. They want to indict Paul Manafort and possibly even retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. Mueller is on a witch hunt. And by the way, the media is helping him every day build this into a feeding frenzy. This week, the Washington Post, you know, they have so many false reports. They reported on an email exchange between Manafort and a Russian billionaire where Manafort actually offered to give the businessman briefings related to the campaign, the 2016 campaign. Now, a Manafort spokesman called the email exchange innocuous. And when you read the words of the letter of the actual exchange, he's right. Manafort has been very open about his past international business dealings, so it wouldn't be a shocking revelation that he would have routine contact with a businessman. How's things going in the campaign? Wow, it could have been as innocent as that. Do we believe that you're innocent until proven guilty in this country? You wouldn't know it by watching the mainstream media. Then the report even goes on to admit that there's zero evidence that these briefings even ever took place. That's what they're reporting. So what you have here, in my opinion, is contact. It's not collusion. And until evidence is provided, you have to assume that it was just contact. Then you have retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. Now, he has served this country with honor and distinction in the U.S. Army for over 3 decades. Does he deserve the presumption of innocence? Now, he has been subjected to unmasking. He has even had his private phone conversations with a Russian diplomat. Well, that was leaked to the press, and that is a felony. That is a crime. That is a violation of the Espionage Act. In fact, it's the only crime we know for sure that was committed in the 11 months about talking about this. And as I've said multiple times on this program, if there is actual proof, hard evidence of collusion, please show us. We will report it right here on this program. Here's another interesting fact we learned this week. Fox News also reporting that Mueller's team interviewed the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, who happens to be the guy that appointed Robert Mueller. He's his boss. About what? The Russia investigation. Can anybody say conflict of interest? And remember, Comey leaked to the New York Times for the purpose of his friend Mueller to become the special counsel. Here is why all of this matters. It has now become evident, now more than ever, that in America we have a two-tier justice system in this country. You, the American people, you are being fed garbage, lies, half-truths on a daily basis. You are being betrayed by these institutions that are supposed to protect you and be honorable, and in the case of the Justice Department, carry out the rule of law. You should be disgusted. I am. There are real crimes with real evidence of real collusion that is being ignored by the media, Robert Mueller, and even at this point, the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions. For example, an investigation needs to be opened into this unmasking and leaking intelligence scandal. Why was Samantha Powers, the UN representative, unmasking all the names of these people leading up to the election, nearly one a day? Well, was it politically motivated? Seems to me like it's a very good possibility. Was she weaponizing intelligence in an election year to go after an opposition candidate? And then you have former Obama National Security Advisor Susan Rice. And according to other reports, she also was responsible for rampant unmasking requests in 2016, including the identities of multiple Trump officials, senior officials. And then you got Ben Rhodes, close former aide to President Obama. And according to more reports, the House Intelligence Committee is looking into his requests for unmasking Americans. And, of course, you want real crimes? Look at the Clintons. Hillary actually committed felonies, real crimes, and was directly involved in serious scandals. Where are these investigations? Like when she and her aides, they destroyed State Department emails. That would be a crime. They were subpoenaed at the time, then acid washed and bleach bit the servers, and then cell phones smashed with hammers. That sounds like obstruction. Don't forget, she signed off, you want a Russia collusion story, on a deal that gave up to 20% of America's uranium to a Russian company that donated up to $145 million to the Clinton Foundation, the people involved in that deal. Anyone hear the word bribery, pay to play? And who can forget the time Bill Clinton secretly meets with the Attorney General at the time, Loretta Lynch, on an airport tarmac, only days before the FBI's conclusion of its investigation into Hillary Clinton's server? Why isn't that being investigated? Where is the outrage in the media in this country? What about the investigation into the DNC server hack? And why didn't the DNC, why wouldn't they hand over their computers that got hacked to the FBI? And why did the FBI let them get away with it? And according to Comey's testimony, the Bureau was only given access to forensic forms because the DNC would rather hire other people. And speaking of DNC emails, if you're so concerned about Russia collusion and you want the truth, why haven't you reached out to Julian Assange of WikiLeaks? He knows where it came from, and he says it wasn't Russia. And he told me back in January it was not a state party as the source in the email hack. They're not speaking to Julian Assange. And speaking of Mueller, what about his conflicts of interest? 8 of the 16 members on Mueller's team make political donations to Obama, Clinton, and Democrats. And that's only the start of it. Mueller, Comey, best friends. And as Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett continues to point out, that relationship could be a violation of 2 laws. And you have Comey. He may have broken the law, drafting memos on government computers, removing those documents from the FBI. Comey admitted under oath that he has his friend leaked the contents of the memos to the New York Times in the hopes that a special counsel would be appointed, and it was. And we can't forget about Comey testifying that Loretta Lynch pressured him to call the investigation a matter, and he took the talking points as his own. Where's the investigation into possible Ukrainian election interference? Politico reports back in January, Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Trump backfire. Kiev officials scrambling to make amends with President-elect after quietly working to boost Clinton. Wow. There also needs to be investigations into the disturbing amount of deep state leaks. Senate report, almost a leak a day in the beginning of the Trump presidency. That's insanity, and it's illegal. So it's becoming a clear and present danger, not only to the president, but the people around him, but to the country, to the Constitution, to the rights, our Fourth Amendment rights to privacy. Really? Where's the DOJ? When are they going to crack down on these leaks? Anybody care about Debbie Wasserman Schultz, or former IT staffer, in that scandal? Where's the special counsel there?